All right, great. Welcome, everybody. I'm Tom Sheasel. I'm a partner in the WhippleNet NetSuite practice, focusing more on the front end and working with opportunities and clients like you that are thinking about looking at new ERP. And Trina will introduce herself in a second, but Trina Scott is also part of our NetSuite team, and we'll be going through both some financial and operational new enhancements that have come to the NetSuite. So from an agenda standpoint, we're talking about business opportunities. So things that you guys are experiencing that you may not have the capabilities in your current systems, and that you might be thinking about what these capabilities can do for your business. We're going to talk then about how NetSuite enables that innovation and efficiency that you could use to help grow the business. And then we're actually going to get into and take a look a little bit at some of NetSuite so that it's not just us looking at PowerPoint with you. And then at the end, we'll talk about how WhippleNet can help and hopefully have a little bit of time for some questions. So business opportunity. So a lot of times we hear it seems that everything just takes too long and we need to double check too much. So we might be using Excel, which is the #1 used ERP system in the world. We might be using an old version of Great Plains, an old version of SL, MacPack 500 or MacPack 50, a lot of old systems which just simply do not have a lot of the new capabilities that the new systems have. So what are some of the business opportunities that you guys might be experiencing? And I use the word opportunity because we don't like to use challenges and issues, but a lot of manual tasks. So if our systems are not integrated, if my operation system is not integrated to financials or integrated to purchasing, I might be doing a lot of manual tasks across these systems. The next thing is reporting struggles. We hear this all the time that it just takes a lot. I have to call a consultant to come in and do a crystal report for me, or do a management report, or do something for a reporting standpoint. So that reporting is a big deal, and access to data, which leads down to lack of key information. So my business doesn't fit exactly into a basic ERP. I have some other criteria and some other attributes that I track in my business, and it's not that easy to add that information into my existing system and then report on it. The other thing then is competitive demands, right? So customers are asking for more and more capabilities from our customers. They want better status. They want an easier way to get their orders to us. They want to be able to understand when and how and if they actually can make changes to orders. So there's a lot of competition demands that if the people you compete with are running on better systems, you may simply be losing because they have a better system, not because they have a better business or a better process, because they're just simply easier to work with. Now, inventory management costs. So if I can't do a good job of predicting inventory and purchasing and I might be carrying too much inventory. It might be taking too long to find inventory in the facility. Just the idea of going out there and finding and moving the product that I want to sell becomes harder. Then the last thing is this operational effectiveness, is that if my processes aren't integrated, if my business isn't integrated, it just takes too long to be handing stuff and throwing stuff over the fence from one department to the other. So these are all different opportunities. Different businesses are going to have different challenges in that area. And so we're here to talk a little bit about how we think NetSuite can help with this. I think we have a poll question here. So you will eventually need a new system, but where do you think you can achieve improvements, right? So just saying I need a new system isn't enough. It's like, how can I improve on this, and what areas do I think are going to provide the most improvement? Excellent, a lot of good feedback here. So I think there's a theme here, right? When we talk about manual steps and we talk about integrated systems, those are clearly a theme for older ERPs, and the area that might be newer to people when you start talking about automated functions. Because if I don't have an integrated system, it's kind of hard to have automated functions. But same thing with analytics and AI is that I'm just trying to get rid of manual steps and integrate my system. and may not have thought about how AI and analytics can help my business. But clearly one step leads to the other, so that's a positive. All right, did we close the poll there?
Poll is closed.
Okay, great. So I think the clear information that came out of this was that, we've got we've kind of hodgepodge of older ERP, Excel, a lot of manual steps, systems aren't integrated, and you really got to kind of, solve those operational things, I think, sometimes before you truly can start thinking about the value you can get out of analytics and automated processes. But we're going to talk a little bit about NetSuite with this, because I think NetSuite can help you accomplish both of those things at one time. So thanks, Trina. Share the next one. You got next slide, Trina? There we go. So who is Oracle, right? So I know you all joined the NetSuite Oracle webinar, but a little bit about NetSuite. NetSuite got purchased by Oracle probably about 5-6 years ago, but there are over 44,000 customers using NetSuite. And when you're talking about a multi-tenant SaaS solution, it's interesting because all 44,000 customers are running on the same version of code. They upgrade twice a year, and everybody out of all those customers upgrades twice a year. So you're not really ever caught in version control. I won't use the bad words for it, but we all have had those situations with older systems that we don't feel like we can upgrade them because we have too many modifications built into them. But with the multi-tenant SaaS, you're going to upgrade twice a year, and everything upgrades seamlessly. Another interesting thing about NetSuite is that 65% of all key technology-based IPOs in the last 3 years have gone live on NetSuite. That means that every other ERP systems, all the other systems combined, make up the other 35%. And part of that, it really does emphasize NetSuite's ability to go from 2 people in a garage up to a $2 billion business. It is very easy to use, but it's also very powerful and very broad in its functionality. It is the largest mid-market multi-tenant SaaS solution with the most capability built into the software. A lot of the other solutions that are in this space work with ISVs and work with other solutions that that help make it bigger, but NetSuite has most of that built into the core system. They focus on vertical solutions to meet your specific needs. So because it's so broad, does everybody have to look at the same thing? No. If you're a wholesale distributor, you're going to look at the wholesale distributor version of NetSuite. If you're a manufacturer, you're going to look at the manufacturing version. If you just want to use the system for financials, then you're going to look at basically the financials piece of it, and whatever part of the business, other parts of the business you do, they will also be along for the ride. There are some businesses that actually will have both a manufacturing and a distribution side of their business, and NetSuite can handle both of them really well. And going back to a continuous innovation twice a year. So twice a year, you're going to upgrade NetSuite, and it's amazing. You can go out and actually Google it, how much functionality is added each 6 months. Just recently, a lot of major additions for AI. So what does that mean? Well, with the AI sake, it means predictive analysis. It means knowing how your vendors work, how well they are, so that if you have to expedite a purchase, you might choose a different vendor that's slightly more expensive, but you know through the predictive analysis that their delivery time is going to be on time. So that's one of the aspects for AI. Analytics, not only does NetSuite have a great analytics engine to go along with a great reporting engine, they also have a built-in data warehouse. A lot of systems might be going out to other things like Tableau and Power BI and Snowflake and the like. NetSuite doesn't have to go out to anything. The information is right in NetSuite. And the true value of that is that it's all real time then. The minute data leaves another ERP to go to a third-party analytics tool, that data just died. In NetSuite, all that data is live in real time, even within its data warehouse. AP automation is another great tool, much like AI, that you're able to work with your vendors faster. It's going to learn all of your bills and bring them in and scan them instead of having to go to a third-party bill consolidation piece of software. And then finally, the data warehouses, which I just talked about. And those are just a couple examples of all the stuff that's been added. All right, turn it over to Trina.
Thanks, Tom.
So I'm going to jump in here. I'm Trina Scott. I work with Tom on the NetSuite team here at Whippley. And my background is varied in the financial area. So I've been an accountant for a really long time. I purchased NetSuite as a CFO, and I've been using NetSuite in some capacity for about 15 years. So I really like to talk about the financial leadership piece because I've experienced it. And it's amazing the power that comes within a system that is fully integrated. So, you think of integration, different things talking to each other, but it's actually a unified platform. So when you think of data that lives there, it's one set of customers, one set of vendors, one set of employees, one set of items that you can share across all of your entities. So with the seamless worldwide integration, you can now have multiple subsidiaries, you can share currencies, you can share all the different records of customers and vendors across, and you don't have to set up 10 of them and then try to do reporting and normalize your data and get it all put together. So it is very powerful in being able to do your consolidated financials. I don't know if any of you have ever had to extract multiple instances of a system into Excel and then create your consolidated financials using that, and you have to do the currency conversion and translate it all to US dollars, and it's really very time consuming. Within NetSuite, it's just built in. The automated AP, so this is a newer functionality from NetSuite. So when you think of a lot of the different applications that are available, there's like Concur, Bill.com, things like that. NetSuite is working towards having functionality very similar to those. So there's something called Scan Bill Capture that I'll be walking through in a little bit. So you can have a dedicated email address, have your vendors send your vendor bills directly into NetSuite. NetSuite will use the AI or machine learning, as Tom was talking about, to get more accurate in creating those vendor bills. And then it also does the predictive analysis based on that information around your vendors and your customers. The automated account reconciliation is a newer function within NetSuite as well. As Tom said, when NetSuite comes out with a new release, a lot comes out. So you have a lot of opportunities to maximize your usage of the system. So over time, you might start out implementing only a piece of it. And then in phase 2, you add more. Phase 3, you add more. And so as the new functionality comes out, you're able to add the functionality to your system as you need it throughout the year. So it keeps you updated all the time, and you're getting that latest and greatest going on. But with the automated account reconciliation, it's not just around the bank reconciliation piece. So there is the integration with banks. You can bring your data in. NetSuite will clear the checks, match up the data, post any AR payments that come in. If it has enough data to match that, it will match it up in the AR piece too. But then there's also the general ledger reconciliation. So when you think of all of your month-end tasks that you have to do, bank reconciliation is just a piece of it. I have to go through my prepaids, I have to go through my accruals, I want to look at fixed assets, I want to review certain accounts to see if I have anything in there I need to capitalize. So that automated account reconciliation is an additional application that Oracle, it was an Oracle product that they've fit to NetSuite. So you can do a lot more robust month-end reconciliation, year-end reconciliation. And then when you think of going through your audit, you have all of these reconciliations that are already done, and you can turn those over to your audit. So, your audit information is snapped down already. You've already taken care of everything, and it should facilitate a much easier and quicker audit for you. The integrated banking, as I mentioned, it'll bring in the transactions from your bank. There's a direct integration to, I think it's over 9,500 banks that you can connect NetSuite to the bank, bring in that data. And then there's also PCI validation within NetSuite. So if you accept credit cards from your customers, you can send an invoice out that has a payment link on it. They can click on the payment link and the payment goes right back into NetSuite. The credit cards get processed, and then it's all within your system. There's none of the downloading and uploading of credit card information, or trying to reconcile credit card payments that are done in an outside system, then try to get them into your ERP and match them up against your AR data. So that really facilitates accuracy, cuts down on errors a lot, so you don't have all the reconciliation nightmares that happen. I understand how when you're looking for something, it takes a long time sometimes to reconcile. So it's very nice that you have that built into the system, and it saves so much in time and accuracy. NetSuite also has planning and budgeting. So there's basic budgeting within NetSuite. So you can import budgets and do budget versus actual reporting. You can have multiple versions of a budget. So if you want a 10% uplift budget or a 25% uplift budget, you can bring all of those into NetSuite and do budget versus actual reporting. But if you want something more robust, so there's the NetSuite planning and budgeting tool that is an Oracle product that works with NetSuite and brings all of the NetSuite data into the platform to be able to do analysis, forecasting, the what if scenarios. So it's a full financial planning and analysis tool that you can take advantage of. And then cash forecasting. I'll be walking through the cash forecasting. If anyone, I know cash is king here, right? Cash is always such an important thing. And when you don't know where your cash is, it's very frustrating and very concerning sometimes. So with the cash forecasting, you can see what cash is going to be coming in. You see your current bank balances, what is supposed to be coming in through AR, and then what you're going to have to pay out via AP. And then there are also different factors that you can put in. So if you have a capital expenditure, or if your payroll is every 2 weeks and it's 50,000, NetSuite's not going to pick that up from accounts payable. So you can put those things into the cash forecasting. And we'll walk through what that looks like. But anyone who spent a lot of time in the cash forecasting, you go to all these different bank accounts, you pull them out, you look at your uncleared checks. And I mean, it's just a very cumbersome process that NetSuite has done a great job of streamlining. And operational effectiveness, I'm going to turn this one over to Tom.
Excellent. So anything other than financials is considered operational, but in everyone's world that may not be the same. One thing about NetSuite is they actually have a built-in, I say built-in, it's kind of a bad phrase to use because it's part of the system. It wasn't built in, it wasn't added on later. But a CRM and marketing automation, and I really kind of almost look at the marketing automation being as interesting as a CRM because, getting customers is hard enough. Keeping customers and adding to customers should be easier, right? So it's hard enough to get customers, so let's make it easier to sell add-on work to keep them sticky. And so what the marketing automation is doing is it's able to use all the data that you have, all the information you have about customers, and be able to suggest to you, this is what we should market to them next. So you start getting into the AI working with marketing automation and CRM, and the CRM goes just like every other large CRM that you may be using or have heard of, whether it's Salesforce or Dynamics 365. We can go from leads to opportunities to prospects to quotes to orders and everything built in between. We can create apps within NetSuite. NetSuite's a great development environment. If there's something specific that you want to add to your CRM because you guys do something that nobody else does. And once again, when you do that and you upgrade twice a year, those modifications will come along for the ride. You don't get caught into version illnesses when you have to upgrade. So it's a great system to use, and it adds a lot of flexibility to add on to, and all the data is in one system. So anything that happens is real time. You can access it anytime, anywhere. It doesn't cost a ton of extra money. I mean, the CRM marketing automation basically I say air quotes with free because you're paying for the software, but it comes along for the ride. So when you buy the financial suite, you buy the warehouse management suite, you buy the manufacturing suite, the CRM marketing automation are already included. And it's easier to sell to someone you know, right? Sales analytics and predictive analysis. This is kind of the AI version of how NetSuite continues to build out. So they can have They have text extend, so you can start writing emails to people. You can start creating content for your web pages or content for your marketing campaigns by using advanced AI tools and techniques within NetSuite to do it. The predictive analysis is kind of like marketing automation. It's basically using all the data that you have or know about your vendors and customers to predict how they're going to interact with you in the future. The easiest one to understand is the vendors. So you're receiving a lot of POs from vendors. They're servicing you, whether they're late or early. So all of that information is added into an analysis of it so that if you're purchasing from certain customers, you can determine that this is the best vendor, this is my primary vendor to purchase from. And you do that because they have the right price that you want and they have the right predictability in how they're going to deliver to you. But if you have to expedite, you might pay a little bit extra to get something if the vendor that you work with is always getting it there to you early. So by having that information, you can start making better decisions when you're dealing with those exception conditions. Next thing is warehouse and inventory management. Having been in the warehouse world for quite a bit of my career, I do know that just about every single ERP does not have any kind of warehouse management built into it. They go to third parties like Blue Yonder and other systems to integrate with. But NetSuite has kind of done what we call, Trina and I call the crawl, walk, run method. So crawling is basically just doing inventory management, which NetSuite does great at. The crawl is going to be, do I have any kind of warehouse functions built into NetSuite that I can take advantage of? And the run aspect is integrating to a much more robust WMS. But in the NetSuite world, we already have a WMS system that has Ship Central, so I can integrate with other shipping systems. I can use a tablet to go out into my facility and do wave picking, do individual order picking. I can manage my warehouse by aisles and locations and zones. And then I have a packing station operation, which helps me pack these things into different cartons, helps me label those cartons and ship out and fully integrate to UPS and FedEx. We also have multi-mode manufacturing. And what I mean by that is that you might have really simple manufacturing for some of the items that you make, and then you might have more complex because you really want to track the whips and the routings of the larger items that you're making. And NetSuite actually works very, very well in both modes. So you don't have to pick and choose. You don't have to take the more complex one and try to fit your easier business into it. You can actually operate in a multi-mode environment. Advanced project services. So NetSuite is a great field service, I'm going to call it construction field service support type area where I can start managing my projects. I can manage tasks, I can manage resources, and I can create all of the financials and the P&Ls I want off of those projects. And then finally, just like the theme you saw from Trina talking about Cash 360, is NetSuite does have a benchmark 360. So they're kind of using their AI and their predictive analysis and their data warehouse to start bringing a lot of data together and consolidating it for you and presenting it already in some prepackaged formats like Cash 360 and Benchmark 360 for you. So a lot of operational things. And as you see on the screen alone, there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 industries you're going with. And we haven't even touched on the non-profits and other areas, which NetSuite is also great at. So NetSuite is a very broad system, but when we implement it for you specifically in your industry, all you care about is the things that matter to you, and you don't have to worry about the other functionalities and features that are there.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in on the enterprise performance management. So NetSuite has a lot of different options available to you to enhance the enterprise performance, to really understand what's going on within the organization and to capitalize on opportunities to gain efficiencies, to reduce errors, to have better data, and reduce the amount of time that you're chasing down data so you can actually do the analysis on the data. So, so many times people are bogged down with these tasks that they're just so busy doing tasks, nobody has time to actually analyze the data. So NetSuite has designed the performance management to really help with a lot of those processes to streamline everything, to make it much easier to understand what's happening within the business and to be able to be agile. So when you think about trying to, stay up with the competition or stay ahead of the competition, you have to have good business data and you have to have it timely and it has to be accurate. So One of the things NetSuite has is NetSuite Pay, and this is kind of a little bit like what I talked about with the credit card payments, but it's actually more robust. So NetSuite Pay clients you can complete an application and onboarding process that is embedded in NetSuite. And that's underwriting and merchant services are powered by VersaPay in partnership with NetSuite. You can accept credit card and ACH payments across e-commerce, point of sale, and accounts receivables directly in NetSuite. Which what that does for you is speed up your collection time with automated click to pay invoices, as I was mentioning earlier, as part of your native workflow. So when those invoices are sent out, that link is right there. So that really helps with that cash collection and that cash flow. And then you can process payments securely, knowing that NetSuite's PCI compliant. And NetSuite Pay works in conjunction with Payment Link, and that's what I was talking about with the link or a QR code that you can send on an invoice to a customer. You can send payment notifications using customized email templates to let customers know if a payment has been accepted or rejected, so they understand what's going on. And then you can let customers view and pay their bills with a click by credit or debit card. So you're not, having to reach out to them for collections. They have that ability to just handle that on their own. So when you think about a lot of the benefits that we enjoy as consumers, then we can now do, we can pay everything online. NetSuite allows you to do that with your customers as well, so they can pay you in many different ways. So that improves your cash flow, reduces your days sales outstanding, and improves the business metrics. NetSuite also has electronic invoicing. So the electronic invoicing suite app enables you to create and use electronic documents in XML or JSON. So for people who pay attention to that, so you can create customized documents that meet your business needs. You're not having to use something that's very standard in a system, and you can't configure things in the way that your customers want to see things. And so the e-documents can help you comply with any legal requirements in your country, or if you do business in other countries, it can help with that as well. And then by using the e-documents, your company, customers, vendors, tax agencies, government regulatory bodies, they can all exchange information about business transactions electronically using a standard data format. So when you think about reporting, especially if you're doing business in another country, there are a lot of legal requirements that come with doing business in some of those countries, that everything has to be submitted electronically. So NetSuite supports that. You're not having to do a lot of manual things to meet those requirements. You're able to use the system to improve your communication with the taxing agencies that you need to be concerned with. And then I know I talked a little bit about the account reconciliation. So think from the bank reconciliation, your general ledger reconciliations, things like that. And then there's also NetSuite transaction line distribution. I'll dive into this when we go into the system. But what this allows you to do, when you think of you're coding a vendor bill, you can apply rules to that vendor bill to distribute it. So you're not having to do it every single time you do a vendor bill, especially if you're doing something over and over again. Like every month, I want to allocate, or I want to record that my liability insurance goes to 50% of it goes to one subsidiary, 25 goes to another, 25 goes to another. So you can set up templates that you reuse over and over again to apply against those vendor bills. You also have the ability to do allocations via journal entries. So when you think of intercompany, NetSuite has very robust intercompany functionality. So when you think of doing an intercompany journal entry, maybe you just want to put in that I want to do things based on head count or based on square footage. So you can use statistical accounts to create that data within the system, and then use a dynamic or a fixed allocation schedule to apply rules against your journal entries, so you're not having to recalculate things over and over again. So it helps with that consistency of your data and cuts down on mistakes and reconciliation challenges. And then Tom mentioned the NetSuite Benchmark 360. That's really, I think, is a very good tool for businesses to understand where they are in the marketplace. So it allows you to compare how you're doing against other organizations like yours. So it provides a lot of information that isn't always easy to find. So that's available with NetSuite. Okay, so we're ready to dive into NetSuite, and I have logged in ahead of time. Okay, so I'm going to start with going through the transaction line distribution. So what I was talking about, just a few minutes ago with the transaction line distribution, it allows me to create these templates that I can apply against my vendor bills. So I understand, what has to be done each time, and I'm not doing, the same work over and over again. I can reuse templates. And so right now I am on a vendor bill that was created using a distribution template. So you can see right here, the distribution default template, interdepartmental advertising. So when I put the vendor bill in, I'm putting in my vendor information and what subsidiary it belongs to. And then I'm coding it to my selling expenses. Now, I applied this line distribution rule right here. So when I open that up, it's going to take me to my distribution template so I can see what that looks like. So my distribution template says interdepartmental advertising, which relates back to the bill. That's what we saw on there. And then this is the distribution that I created. So I wanted to say destination subsidiary. This is actually an intra-company type. You can do intra or inter-company. So think of this particular one is just within the same subsidiary, but it wants to take the, we want to take the full amount that's on that bill and distribute it across departments. So now we're saying with this template, anything that, when I do this interdepartmental advertising, if I put something, create my vendor bill, it's now going to distribute 25% to sales and 75% to marketing automatically. Now, when I go and look at the journal entry that gets created from that distribution, you can see that it took the 5,000 I originally reported, and there was no department. So it's crediting that, so it's zeroing out that $0 department, and then it's applying it to the correct department based on that percentage that I put on the template. So NetSuite will allow you to reuse these over and over again. So next time I have a $8,000 bill, it's still going to allocate it 25 and 75 in the way that I've set up with my budget. And as you're looking at the records, you can see there are links on all of these records. So when I go to the bill, I can go to my distribution rule. For my distribution template, I can see how everything was set up. And then on my bill, I can go to my related records, and I can see my journal entry that was created and access it this way. So all of the information that is used to create that transaction is linked to each other, and it makes it easy to find that information within the system. Now within the bill itself, I can attach files here if I want. So when you think of putting all of your information together, going through audit, preparing, things like that, I can attach all the files within NetSuite that I want to attach. And I have all that information ready. So when it comes to year end, I'm not going through a bunch of paper files, pulling things out, copying it, and then trying to scan it and get it to someone. So in addition to the transaction line distribution, we have AP automation. So the bill gets created, right? Well, AP takes a lot of time to do, right? So if I go to my transactions payables, I can go to my scan vendor bills, and I already have that opened up here. And so what scan vendor bills does is it's that OCR recognition that I was talking about that a lot of other applications have, that you can do it directly from within NetSuite now. You don't have to have another application that integrates. So with the scan vendor bills, I can provide a dedicated email address to my vendors, and say, please email all of the invoices to, accounting at yourcompany.com, right? And so when they come into NetSuite, NetSuite will create a record using the information that's on that scanned bill. So you can see there's the scanned bill to the left, and then now I'm in review scanned bill. So now I can look at the information that's on the bill. Now, keep in mind, this is demo data. So when I see, the date's 4/10/24, but it was scanned on, 10/10/22, it's just funky demo data that makes those dates go off. But let's say I did want to change that back. So I want it to be 10/10/22 because I haven't closed that period yet. It's been I've kept it open for 2 years. So now I can change that information. I can add in a PO number if I want to. So I can add in department, classes. Now this one happens to be picking up items that I purchased off of a purchase order. And so it's matching up the items right here. And you can see the items that are on the scanned vendor bill. And it's referencing the purchase order, which is why the purchase order number isn't up at the top. It's because it's on each line item in the items section. So now we can see what PO NetSuite is pulling to match this vendor bill against. And is that accurate? Is it correct? You can make any changes you want to this bill before it gets created. So if I want to add departments or I want to add customer or something like that to it, I can do that. And then once I've decided I like all of the information that's on here, I just hit create bill. And now my vendor bill is created. My PDF is attached to that vendor bill and it's ready to go through any kind of accounts payable process, approval process that you might have. So if you have routing that you need to do for approvals, NetSuite is very robust with the approval process. So if it needs to go to a different department or if it needs to go to a particular person, you can create approval routing and NetSuite will route it for you. Now, before I started looking at this vendor bill here, there was, let me go back to my first screen because I should have pointed this out. But as you can see, when I'm on this vendor bill screen right here, there's a drag and drop files to upload. So if my vendors are, taking a little bit of time to get used to the email address that we requested that they send the bills to, I can always grab it off of an email and drag and drop it into NetSuite, and NetSuite will consume it in the same way that it would if it were emailed. So that saves a lot of time and accuracy, with trying to get your vendor bills in. I remember the days of, you're writing on the invoices, you sit down, you go through your pile of AP and somebody manually keys all of that in. So now you don't have to manually key all of that in. And what it allows you to do is do more of the analysis, like what I was talking about earlier, really looking at those vendor bills, really understanding where you are in alignment with your budget. So you now have so much more time to manage the business and you're not managing pieces of paper. So the scan vendor bills is really, really super helpful. Now NetSuite also has payment automation that they partner with HSBC to do the payment piece. And so what that does is with the AP automation, you can pay your bills in multiple ways with one file. So when you think about it, you can create your notch file directly from within NetSuite and upload that to your bank. But if you're working with that payment automation, you can pay via ACH, you can pay via virtual credit card. You'll get that there's like a 1% rebate, like you would get in using a credit card. You can do wire transfers. So there's a lot that you can do when you think about, the way you do payments now. Wire transfers are like one batch, ACH is another batch, checks are another batch, credit cards are another. This allows you to pay everything in one batch and you mark everything, in the way that you put the information into the system. And then HSBC knows how to process that for you. So that's a product that NetSuite paired with HSBC to come up with that functionality for companies. And what where I see it the most beneficial is in companies that do international business, so there's all the different types of, actually different payment types. If you have a lot of different payment types, it's super helpful in that way. Okay, the next thing I want to pop to is the Cash 360. So Tom mentioned that NetSuite is going to this 360 thing. So you'll see on vendors, there's a vendor 360, there's a customer 360. And what it does is it provides a lot of information to you from an overall perspective. So I'm going to go into a controller role to go look at the Cash 360. And as you can see, my dashboard just changed. So I was in administrator role before because I didn't want to run into any kind of permission violations. Because I was navigating across different things that would normally have a separation. So when I go to my my controller role, I can now get to my Cash 360. And on my controller dashboard, I can see, my subsidiary navigator. I can see performance, my KPIs, financial information, the weekly cash projection. So the Cash 360 is different than this weekly cash projection. This is super helpful. However, when you go into the Cash 360 and you look at the dashboard, you can see all of your bank balances. You can see the accounts receivable that is coming in, and you can see payables that are going out. So as I'm looking at this, these are my tiles. So bank, receivables, payables. In the subsidiary, I can switch subsidiaries. So if I want to see my e-subsidiary, I want to see consolidated, I can look at all of the different subsidiaries right here. I don't have to log out, log back in. I don't have to change a role. It's just toggling within the system. So that's one of the benefits of the way the structure is with that unified platform. Everything is in one platform, so I'm not having siloed information and siloed processes. So as I'm looking at my Cash 360, I can see where it's at and where it's going. And it'll do it out by weeks. So I have this set up as 6-week view. So this is my dashboard, and I can go down to my AR aging summary, my AP aging summary. I can see what's going on, from an aging perspective. I can also get to invoices. I can approve invoices, view bills, my AR and AP agings. I can go into those actual reports from this dashboard. Now I can also go look at my cash forecast. So right now it's giving me my opening balance, future dated transactions, and then accounts receivable, and then the outflow. So it's automatically taking accounts payable, but I put in 2 factors, one for payroll, because I know I need to factor payroll into cash going out, right? That's a pretty important thing to make sure you have in your cash flow. And then I have maybe a capital expenditure that doesn't really run through payables. So I want to factor that in. Or if I have a big expenditure coming up, I have an equipment purchase that I'm going to pay cash for because I don't want to finance it. I can put in here like an equipment purchase for $100,000, the week of 10/13. And it will factor that in. So now I can see what's going on with my cash. Now NetSuite gets better and better at forecasting your cash as you gain information within the system. So it does the predictive analysis, as Tom was talking about, to say, your customers' terms are net 30, but they usually pay in 42 days. So it's not going to factor in that you're going to get that cash in 30 days. It'll factor that you're getting the cash in 42 days. And same with your payables habits. It picks up on those things and understands when it should really predict your cash coming in and your cash going out. And then you can set up different preferences. So like I have this account categories as payroll, and then my additional values right here is principal and interest, and I can tell it how I want that set up. So this Cash 360, for anyone who's had to put cash projections together, this is really a huge time saver, and really gives you all that data at your fingertips to understand where you are in your cash position. Okay, so that was all of it that I'm going to dive into from a financial perspective. And I will turn it over to Tom to walk through operational information.
All right, I'm going to go in and choose this and share. Um, I got to figure out which one I'm sharing here. Um, I'm going to share the window. Oh, okay. Is everybody seeing 3,000 windows in here?
Yeah,
Okay, can you see my dashboard right now?
yes.
Okay, great, great. So I'm going to kind of go a little bit not in the order that I had listed off on the other side, um, just because easier to see. So this is NetSuite's data warehouse. So what it's doing is it's giving you a lot of different graphical ways to represent the data that you care about. And it's also the power of it is that you can bring in other systems. So let's just say that you're converting, but you have a very industry specific operational system that you have, and you don't want it to be incorporated in phase one. Maybe I want to get the financials and the order management up in phase one, and my operational system I'll keep. You might actually have an operational system that has and has some automation built into the machines. So we can bring that data directly into NetSuite via APIs and marry that up with your NetSuite data and start producing what you can see. And so that's really the kind of the power of the data warehouse is that when you're looking at multiple data or multiple versions of data, multiple sources, as well as history. So a lot of people want to bring in and say, I want to keep 5, 6 years of my history because that's where all the value is with my customers. However, I might be changing and transforming some of my data when I start with a new system. So my item numbers might be slightly different. My customers, I might now have a parent-child relationship on my customers, but we can still bring in your old data and use it and marry that up with your current data so that you can start getting value out of your history. It's very difficult to do it in line all in the one ERP system, but when you start talking about a data warehouse, it's very easy to bring it in. Second thing that we can do with NetSuite is NetSuite has a fully built-in, well, I said fully built-in, it has a warehouse management and pack station operation that is very tablet driven. So when I go in, I can look at my WMS functions with it. So WMS functions are going to be your warehouse location. So let's just pick Boston. And I can do receiving, I can do picking, I can do inventory, I can do work orders. So from a picking standpoint, I can do single order picking, multi-order picking, quick ship reverse. So I can do a lot of features and functions within the warehouse management function, as well as if I want to go to packing station. So this is for anybody who's bringing a bunch of parts together, a bunch of products together and packing them into cases and cartons. I have that same concept from a packing station. I can pack individual sales orders or not. I can cartonize that. I can put picking labels on those cartons. I can do a lot with the integrated warehouse management system and packing station operation. But then let's go back and say, I want to go back to the sales and marketing. So starting with the CRM and the marketing automation, which I talked about earlier. So like I said, from a sales standpoint, I can start with leads, prospects, go to prospects, competitors. I can go to opportunities, quotes, sales orders. And then from a reporting standpoint, I have all of my, and I'll go down here for reports. So I have all of my sales forecast reports. I have all the different slicing and dicing, sales by rep, sales by items. And then here's a key, kind of that sales margin and that pipeline analysis reports that I can put in there. So I can put weighted averages on the different steps through the process that I have for my information. And then I can have different KPIs. I think Trina showed you some KPIs for financials, but every different section of the system will have their own KPIs. So production will have theirs around work orders. And from a sales and marketing standpoint, I've got my leads, my sales, my quotas. And so I can either do KPIs or I can do financial metrics. And so really it's about how the data is represented to you and what data is able to be represented to you, as well as then your reminder. So how can I be told what to go do? I mean, it's good to have information, but I want to be directed in certain things. So when specific business events occur to you that I've got leads that are over 20 days old. I have prospects that have a potential of more than $10,000 I want to follow up on. So any of those individual type cases can be programmed into a reminder so that I can be told that I have to go in, or reminded, I guess, to have to be told and go and do that. Then you can kind of get to the marketing side of it. So, right, so I've got all my sales in there. I've got customers and I've delivered them. So how do I market to new customers or even to new prospects? The first thing I do is I create my group. So my target group is nothing more than me going out and doing a safe search to choose all customers that fit these 5 criteria. That's going to become my group. And then I take that group and I turn it into a campaign. So from that campaign standpoint, I'm going to say that I'm going to do the Eastern Territory group, my Central Territory group, and my Western Territory group. And I'm going to either do a direct mail campaign, lead nurturing. This one's a new customers get 10% discount campaign. And then I can go in and create the email templates that I'm going to do with it and then send out that campaign. So here I can go in and create my templates. And really the best part about this is the campaign ROI. So not only can I go in and create my different campaigns, I can go in and create, I'm probably going to have bad data on here, but I'll go back and try to find some better data. Oh, I suppose I should get better data here if I select the right thing. And it's going to be able to tell me what a campaign. So yeah, I probably don't have good data here, but that's okay. So when I go in, when you're doing a campaign, it costs money, right? If you're going to a trade show, it costs money. And so the question is, did I get anything out of it? So when I go and create those campaigns, I can then start attaching all of my leads and prospects and quotes and orders to that campaign. So I can actually see what kind of business I'm generating from that investment that I created. I can integrate to my marketing. If I have an e-commerce marketing thing, how many clicks through I've created with product and everything else on it. So it's really powerful to go through and manage that marketing campaign within NetSuite. There are a lot of HubSpot and other marketing tools that actually integrate with NetSuite just fine, but it's always the people that are using NetSuite themselves are the ones that are getting the most value out of it. Now I'm just going to go back to my administrator role, and I don't want to lose sight that we have a little bit of time left. And once again, you kind of see on here that there's a lot of functionality in the system, and we'll work with you on that. There's a quality management system built in. There's a fixed assets system built in. There's a suite projects, advanced projects built in. So there's a lot of features and functions in there that we'd love to talk through and see how they help you with your business. So I'm going to go through and stop sharing my system here. And I think, Trina, you have to go back and now be the presenter, which you are, it looks like. So there is, and I don't know if we lost Forrester or not, because she's in the middle of Texas and I think in the middle of a big storm somewhere. So the next poll question we have here is there anything here that you've seen that you think can add value to you? I mean, we'd like to be able to present information back to you guys to see what it is that you guys are interested in learning more about. And this is kind of why I wanted Trina to do a lot of the talking here today, because yes, the operational side, I think there's a lot of value that can be brought here. But really, when you think about NetSuite started as NetLedger back in 1998, and the financial capabilities of NetSuite are pretty advanced. In my opinion, and I am biased, it is by far the strongest financial mid-market system out there. It has a lot of advanced capabilities, and then you marry in a lot of the operational capabilities around manufacturing and inventory and projects, and I think it's a great full-service system. Funny, the one we did not talk about was their software, and NetSuite runs on NetSuite. So they run a business with 44,000 customers in the software business, where revenue recognition is a big deal, billing is a big deal, and all those things work very, very well within NetSuite. Excellent. I think that's quite a few people who have weighed in. we appreciate that. So there will be some contact information on the back side. If there's anything more you want to see about this, feel free to reach out to us. But at this point, well, we have 4 minutes left. Are there any questions? I guess, are they going to be in the chat?
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat so far, but we'll leave it open for a couple of minutes, see if anyone starts typing something in there.
Okay, perfect. If not, if you don't want to ask the question, feel free to reach out to the contact people and we'll be sure to follow up with you individually on any questions you have. But NetSuite, not only do we know a lot about NetSuite, but Allison and her team are very good at implementing NetSuite. So we are a certified Oracle solution provider and alliance partner. We provided NetSuite guidance to over 100 businesses, which is interesting because NetSuite upgrades twice a year, and we've only had one problem with one customer in the last 10 years of all upgrades to the system, and that was because they had added some functionality and did not include it into the bundle to upgrade, which is fine. We helped them very quickly to get over it, but it does migrate and upgrade seamlessly. I can actually say that, and so can all of our 100 customers. We have roughly 22, it's a little bit more than that, functional consultants with developers. We actually have built in the NetSuite integrations for Concur development as well as other integrations to the system. We're a very industry-based consulting group, so we know a lot about NetSuite, but we also really try to come at it from an industry and a business perspective because you'll be transforming your business most likely as you come into NetSuite. And the first thing we want to do is understand how you want your business to run, how your trading partners are expecting you to integrate with them, and then we'll go into NetSuite and follow up with what the right solution is there. So we look forward to, if anybody's interested, we look forward to having more conversation with you about it. You know, because like I said, the number one thing we hear from prospects is we want a partner that understands our business. You know, NetSuite themselves integrates their own solution, but we have over 25 customers who did not like working with NetSuite to implement their own solution. And it's mostly because NetSuite really understands their software, but they don't understand the businesses. We have great tax groups, we have great audit groups, we have great organizational performance groups. They all know what all the other things that you're being held responsible for, and then they work with us to figure out how we're going to solve it in NetSuite. So it's really understanding your business challenges as a business and then figuring out what we're going to do in NetSuite to make sure that NetSuite can expand your business and not just run your business. Any other questions? Allison, you want to weigh in a little bit or not? I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, no worries. I think you kind of covered everything that I was going to say. You wrapped it up very nicely there.
Excellent. And like I said, we probably in our NetSuite customers, we probably span 6, 7, 8, 9 industries that we do it with. Each industry has its own little nuance, right? If you're in a non-for-profit, you're going to be talking about grant-funded accounting. If you're in distribution, we could be talking about date-controlled product and lot-controlled and serialized product. If you're in manufacturing, we could be talking about job costing and work order costing. And financials, all the things that Trina said. I'm not even going to try to reiterate them because she's a lot smarter about financials than I am. But that really, I mean, I will say this, that the operational stuff we have to be able to solve for you. But when Trina has that conversation with you on the financials, I think it starts opening eyes and opening doors, and that's where everybody gets creative. You know, and this has to be a 2-step or a 3-step process, because the first step is just kind of understanding what words we use to describe things, and then the wheels start turning, and everybody starts figuring out all the different benefits that could come to their life, and that's why it's an iterative process. Both our implementation process is iterative, as well as our sales process is iterative as well. So, like I said, I appreciate everyone's time, and we look forward to following up with you and trying to see what NetSuite is specific to you and not just a general presentation that we created today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.